is like a lovely tune. Beware my foolish heart, how white the ever constant moon. Take care, my foolish heart. There's a line between love and fascination. It's hard to see on an evening such as this, for they both give the very same sensation when you're lost in the magic of a kiss. Her lips are much too close to mine. Beware my foolish heart, but should our eager lips combine, let the fire start. For this two lips, it isn't fascination or a dream that will fade and fall apart. It's love. This time it's love, my heart.
Wow, beautiful. Too short.
Yeah, it gets scary. Shmulyan and Conrad Herwig on the low note at the end, the very last note. We were just talking about him.
Very,
That was fun.
very beautiful.
Thank you. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, Marion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Marion Cowings, and he's in New York, and he's from New York, and he is in New York. And how is New York these days? I can't imagine New York without a lot of people walking around. So
There are. It's back. It's back. It's back to its pace. It hasn't gone anywhere. I mean, we were down for a while, and everybody's wearing masks at least. People are kind of like you're like kind of shamed if you don't wear a mask.
Yeah.
But it's busy. It was raining. Weather-wise, it's like spring is going to come, but it's just taking its sweet ass time.
Yeah.
But right now, what is it? Oh, the sun just popped out. Okay, I'm here in my apartment with my plants. As you can see, I'm a plant guy. I love plants.
Yeah.
Would have made the bed, but talking about.
I'm just doing a few little things while we're saying hello. And I like to set my little self up. Let's see who's here. You probably know some of these people. Greg Farnes, Greg Farnes, right? Greg Farnes.
Maybe that's a tough question. That's a tough question for me. Who do I know?
Steve Taylor.
Yeah.
Makoto Yuki.
Okay.
Yeah, and Steve says you're one of his favorite singers.
Hey, Steve, how you doing? He's online here right now, participating.
Yeah,
I can see. Okay.
You can't see it through, obviously through Zoom, but you could see it through Facebook.
Okay, okay. Sometimes I can let's see, share screen, participants. Oh, it's just us right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
oh, you have to turn your volume down on something if you're looking at something else.
nope.
Oh, okay. So anyway, nobody else is on Zoom with us. It's just you and me, and then everybody else is on YouTube or Facebook.
Okay.
And so if you did want to see, and you're so inclined, the Facebook, then on a separate, probably on a separate thing, like a phone or something or a tablet, you could open Facebook and see. But I can also tell you,
That's
you
all
know.
right. That's okay. I'm just happy to be here with you and just us right now.
Yeah.
Us.
Yeah. So, boy, um, so Marion and I kept kind of missing connecting, but he was going to come out here and do a workshop and a gig, I think, too. And then
Want to?
the pandemic went. Whew.
Yep, dried up those gigs. I still do some teaching online. I actually had a physical gig in a real place at William Patterson University about a week ago. It's in a
Oh,
theater, nobody there, big empty theater with a camera crew and a great band. Noriko Ueda on bass and Jerome Jennings on drums
yeah.
and Joe Davidian on piano.
Uh-huh.
That was kind of thrilling, but it was 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why this guy Pete
God.
Pete from is one of the professors there. He's in a group called the Royal Bobsters. I don't know if you heard of them. But
Sure, I know them, and they lost one of them last year, right?
right, right. That's true. Was Amy London is still with us?
Uh-huh.
Give me a second. I'll tell you who that was.
Yeah, I forget her name.
CD.
Oh yeah, it was the girl on the end, right?
Right. I'm spacing out on names here. Hold on for a second.
I
Holly.
know. Holly, yeah. That was so sad.
Yeah, she got out of here early.
Yeah.
Well, nobody knows when. It's
None
just
of us get out of here alive.
yeah. That's why life is a sexually transmitted disease. That's what I heard, and everybody died from it. And
Oh, I've been reading this book about between lives. This psychiatrist hypnotized thousands of patients and interviewed them about the between lives. And guess what? They all say the same things. I mean, their personal experience is different because they're an individual, but it's all the same stuff. And it's like, ooh.
they said in between in between their lives, their last life, and this current.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, somebody told me about it. They said, "Oh, you have to read this book. It changed my life." So I got it, and it was like it started off kind of slow, and then as I kept reading, I was like, "Oh, well, that explains that. Oh, that's cool."
Right.
So I mean, I like to think of life and death like that.
Well, you can't kill energy. We can only
Right.
transform, according to Einstein. Don't take my word for it. You can only change, you can only change its nature. You can't really destroy it or create energy.
Yeah, and it talks about Earth being a school, basically.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So yeah,
A
it's
lot, a lot of failing students on the planet. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, you look around, you go, what the hell is going on here? God, this year was really a lot of that.
Yeah, it's a strange time. It's strange time. There were the pandemics, which took tolls. You know, we
Yeah.
didn't we didn't have. I saw a photo today of the polio ward in 1957 of 1954. The iron lungs, the whole ward filled with iron lungs to help the polio, and people forget. We had other stuff that we had to
Yeah,
go
yeah. Yeah, you
through.
deal with the emergency on hand, right?
That's why I love music. If I can slightly change the subject,
Absolutely.
because it seems to be the one thing that glues people together, And when I'm listening to music, the world kind of like is all right.
Yeah.
I'm listening or performing, and I feel that you know it's not my original saying, but music rationalizes sound. You know, there's an American philosopher named Santayana who said that in his book, Reason in Art, a very short book, but it was interesting because he was trying to explain to who I would call the squares why we do what we do.
Yeah.
What's the reason in it, and reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And really, really good book. I don't know if it's still in print, but
Reason, reason and art.
Reason in Art. It's only about 50 pages long or 60 pages long. Reason in Art. George Santayana. He's the one that everybody misquotes. Those that fail to learn the lessons from the past are doomed to repeat them in the future. That's George Santayana's rap. That's his quote. But it was that's why I love music. I keep sharing it. We have to completely reinvent ourselves. For the time being, how we're doing it. We were just talking about the technical stuff, but how do we get to share? I mean, I've been a street singer too. For years I did the farmers markets, every weekend, and the farmers would pay me in vegetables, and the farmers market didn't pay me, but I put out the tip bucket, like busking, same
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and it was a great experience. It was great, and I was doing it. I'm out there, I'm doing it, so it can't be in a building. The problem was that if you have an amp on the street in New York, it used to be that the cops would take you and the amp and your whole band to the jail for
Oh.
violating if you didn't have a permit.
Huh.
But somehow I was under the auspices of the farmers market, so and I kept it down, and volume wise, we had a lot of fun.
Busking, I think, is fabulous. I have some friends who really did it like significantly in England, in Brighton, and they had a spot. It was basically known that that was their spot. During certain hours, they were always there. They made a lot of money, sold CDs, got gigs. It was really nice.
Yep, that's what I. If you can't get a gig in a building, then go out and busk.
Yeah.
And if the cops come over, break into a religious song. Start singing about Jesus or something. They're afraid of Jesus.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I have a chronic cough.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's really. I'm tired of it. I've had it for many years.
Allergy,
Sorry.
allergies.
I don't know exactly what it is. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it because I've seen all kinds of doctors, Eastern, Western, whatever, and I've had X-rays and on and on, and I've had allergy tests. Nothing really came up, and happens at various times, and yeah, I have these pills that actually are from England, Vocal Zone, and these actually stop me from coughing kind of immediately, but it doesn't cure it. So,
I see.
but it's handy for singing.
What, what's in those pills?
Very natural. There's myrrh and maybe menthol. I can't.
Myrrh used to be the number one antibiotic in the old days.
Oh, really?
So,
Somebody had told me to take, tincture, the myrrh tincture, and that it had actually worked for them for a cough. I just don't get the feeling that this cough is related to, like some kind of sick thing inside. It's I think it's more that my body is creating phlegm for some reason. It thinks
Yeah,
it has to create phlegm.
yeah. Are you a cheese and milk person? Are you diet any dairy?
Not really.
How about wheat? Would you
No,
eat bread?
I pretty much stay away from wheat, sugar, and dairy.
Good. Good.
You would think that that would be good enough, you know.
There's
So
a thing called mucusless diet.
I have looked into that as well.
Yeah.
I have the books.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I did it
Dr. Arrett or something, right?
or something. I can't remember, but you know, you
Did you say
tried.
you did it?
I did it years ago. Yeah, and it
Oh.
worked along with the brown rice and stuff like that. And then I when when I when I got off of it, I went straight to like a Nutty Buddy ice cream cone. And the chocolate. Oh, well, that was the best ice cream cone I ever had.
Did you say the diet worked for you?
It worked for me. I felt completely different.
Uh, I've looked at that diet and I've tried to imagine doing it, you know, because it's quite substantial. You know, I mean, you really have to commit
Right, that's
to
true.
doing it, you know, and
Tried for
but
3 weeks.
yeah, that's what I was just thinking. And maybe if I do it for a month, you know, like just commit to it for a month.
What was interesting, what I remember about it was that my poops were so amazing. I wanted to turn around and take a photograph of my. I mean, I was like, "What is that coming out of me? What's going on?"
Why was it more gorgeous or what? What?
Just big, large, super
Oh,
duper, super duper large.
oh, because the mucus was coming out.
That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
And like the hamburgers and every other goddamn thing that I used to eat.
Yeah, okay, now you're making me feel like, okay, I'll go look at the book again, Marion. I'll see if I can commit to it for a month. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. For a little bit, try it, see if you like it, whatever.
yeah,
Pretty drastic. I remember brown rice and gomazio. Yeah, but you're already
it's
off
drastic.
sugar. Sugar was the
Yeah,
hard thing for me.
yeah, sugar's not that hard for me, you know, to be off of. I mean, every now and then I get a craving, but yeah, and the wheat thing, it's kind of easy. Dairy, yeah,
Wheat
because like,
is pasta. Wheat is pasta. All kinds of pasta is wheat. You know that.
yeah,
Right.
except for gluten free, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm off like flour. Anything flour. Gluten has flour. There's there's bread that's gluten free, but it's still made out of flour. I don't know why. I'm just like off. I feel like deprived a little bit, but I'm looking better, and my tummy is getting flatter. So you know, I mean, there was a woman named Madame Blavatsky, and she said that the three conservative methods of healing are food, temperature, and color. Those are the three conservative methods of healing. That's no knives, no, but
So
she,
what do you mean color?
well, you can change the vibration of your body by the colors that you surround yourself with.
Okay.
There's a Korean spa in here on 58th Street where they have these like old fashioned phone booths
Yeah.
that are different colors,
Huh.
and you go, you buy a pass for the whole day, and there's 8 kinds of steam rooms, and there's these color booths.
Oh.
They're amazing. One of the things that she said was amber. If you have stomach issues, you get a lamp, one of those painter's lamps, like I'm showing you here, like the
Yeah.
painters use the clip on.
Yeah.
You put an amber bulb in there,
Yeah.
and put that on your stomach. That'll cool you out. It'll cool out your stomach. That
Yeah.
color.
Yeah.
There's only one color, and there's a lot of colors in the rainbow. You know, but she had uh, taught Gurdjieff and Ouspensky. She came before them, but they took their philosophy um, from her.
Oh.
A lot of their philosophies, yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, that's. I mean, I'm curious about this stuff, and I just I have to eat defensively, and I have to live defensively if I'm going to continue to do what I do. Singing, it's a very physical thing. It has some almost athletic proportions.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know,
agree.
who knows better than you? I'm preaching to the choir.
Well,
How much
it's
it
cool
takes.
to talk about it, and just agree on it and share stuff about it. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that come into my vision about it, and I find the hardest thing for me is to continue practicing one thing for a long time. I usually get distracted. I'll do something for a minute and then I get interested in something else. Like I've been doing tapping, but tapping has been around for a long time. But you
Tap
tap,
dancing? Tap?
no, no, tapping on your meridian points.
Oh,
So, like, there's this it's called the tapping solution, which leads you through tapping on your meridian points, very particular points, and then actually confronting stuff that you want to get rid of, you want to handle, and also kind of seeing positively what you want. These are all the points that they lead you through. It's just 9 points, and then that's it. And then there are these people who help you and just kind of to say things. But what's really interesting is, so I've been working on my cough. I always work everything I try really in gear towards my cough. So there's a little phrase, you confront it, and then you say something like, "But I love, accept, and forgive myself." And you actually say it out loud. And really, sometimes I didn't think I really had anything to particularly forgive myself over. But when I was tapping and I said, "I forgive myself," I could feel this physical and emotional response, like kind of this swelling out.
wow.
And so I thought, oh, okay, well, apparently I need a little work on that. So I'm gonna
This is the first I'm hearing about tapping.
tapping.
I thought you meant tap dancing. I don't. It's like no. My son's a tap dancer.
Well,
Pretty
that I'm
famous.
sure is good for you too. Your son's famous?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, is his name Cowings as well?
He calls himself A.C. Lincoln. No, he changed his name to protect the innocent. So did my daughter, Emily King. She changed her name to protect the innocent. But Arnold Ehret is the name of that mucusless.
Yes.
That guy, Arnold Ehret. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting, right? I mean, he
Well,
cured thousands of people
you know,
with that.
I think you just came up with your own answers. You said something about I have mucus, and mucus is my body is making it to like get rid of something, and so you answered your own question. If you could be mucus, if your body stopped doing that, then you'd be healed. You know,
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
the root cause is what you have to find out.
Yeah, I did have an X-ray, and I had light scarring up at the top of my lungs, which doesn't surprise me because when I was a kid, I had a lot of bronchitis. But and it's called broken glass syndrome, and that in itself doesn't cause coughing. It's just, it just happened to be there. So, but it can be really obnoxious and annoying, especially for my husband who has to hear it. And I cough every day, so a lot of people online have seen me cough and stuff. So,
Oh, you poor little thing. We're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna work on it together.
okay. My friend Toby said, as a competitor ice skater, I would squeeze honey down my throat. Helpful for a 4.5 minute routine. Have either of you tried this prior to your performance? I have never.
No, I have honey every morning in a cup. I've been having it in a cup of coffee, but for the past 2 days, I switched to yerba mate, which is a tea.
Oh yeah, yerba. Yeah, mate.
Yerba,
Yeah, I know that tea.
yeah, it's like twice as much caffeine as coffee, and it's also good for you actually,
It
rather than
is. I have a funny little story about how my introduction happened to that. I was in I was in Argentina. I was there was like this special music camp that was. I'll tell you about it sometime. It was just incredible. It was a great experience. Anyway, so there it was like a community, like a kind of a summer camp kind of a situation, and so in a gourd they made the yerba mate, and then you know what they would do with one straw? They would pass it around to everybody. So
right.
everybody was drinking out of that one straw.
Wow.
And I mean, what did I know? I was whatever. I'll experience whatever, but that would never happen now, probably. But
Hell no. Girls were hard to find at that time. Yeah, but yeah, germs. Okay. Germs. Okay, well, they're not into it. Yeah, they weren't anyway.
so let's hear about you and your career. I know you grew up in New York and quite young you were singing. So how did you get interested in singing? Were your parents musical or?
My mom was musical, and she. They say that she was a great singer until she lost her hearing when she was like 12 from rheumatic fever and the
Huh,
pre-antibiotic age.
yeah,
They treated her with sulfa drugs, which kind of deadened her otic nerve or whatever that nerve is in there.
yeah,
And but I was interested in singing from the very beginning of my life, as far as I can remember, which was pretty far.
yeah.
Uh, I was a singer. I had what I would call like a kind of a musical photographic memory, where I hear a melody and then I could repeat it.
Oh,
And I remember I used to tell my dad I wanted to be a doctor because that's what he wanted me to be. But really, in my heart of hearts, I knew I wanted to be a singer from when I was a little kid. You know, and how I got into it, I was like the elementary school plays. Mrs. Weiler, put me in these elementary school plays, and the captain of the Pinafore, and I was, Hansel and Gretel, and I was in school plays. And then junior high school, I didn't do any singing. I picked up the trombone, and I won declamation contests. I didn't sing in the musical theater company, but I did make speeches like the Gettysburg Address and things like
oh
that. So I
wow,
got my speaking chops together,
yeah.
doing that with my dad's coaching me in the back of the grocery store, which was how I grew up in a grocery store. And then in high school, I got really lucky. I went to music and art high school, and I had a wonderful teacher and a chorus. Uh, Mandel was her name, and I had this really great opportunity to perform. They needed a boy soprano to perform. Leonard Bernstein was doing an Aaron Copland uh, thing, and they needed a soprano. They had 7 soloists, a high school chorus, and the New York Philharmonic, and it's recorded. The Second Hurricane. It's
Oh
still
really?
you're still putting it out there. Yeah,
Wow.
soloist Larry Willis was one of the soloists. He's a jazz pianist now. It was before he checked out, but he was a singer then. This is before he started playing it. Before I started playing piano.
Yeah.
But I got really lucky, and also at the same time, I was in Eddie Gomez, the bass player, was in my class.
Oh.
And he did. Well, some guy. Let me go back. Some guy brought a Lambert, Hendricks and Ross record on one of those portable record players to school, and I listened and I went, "Wow, this is amazing!" And then I got into it, and I listened to everything they did. And Jimmy Owens lent me a couple of records, sing along with Basie and sing a song of Basie, which I still have to get back to him one of these days. And
From then? Wow,
yeah,
man. That was a while back, too.
yeah. And then I guess got into it. And then Eddie Gomez told Jon Hendricks about me. He said, "There's this kid that's singing your stuff." And then one day I got a phone call from Jon Hendricks. Meet me at Birdland. And I told my dad, I want to meet this jazz singer at Birdland. And he said, "You better take your older brother with you." And that was the beginning of a relationship that I had I had my own group. I had Cowings, Cummings, and Lang, and Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross. And we sang one song together on a Sunday afternoon, the six of us, at the Village Vanguard when I was 15 years old. And I just got hooked. And then when Dave Lambert left, he left the group, and I replaced him for a while.
Oh,
When I was really a brat, I was like very precocious 17-year-old. And then I had this family trauma where my dad wanted me to go to college, and I just wanted to be a bebop singer, So I went back to college to please him, to Manhattan School of Music, and which was all opera at the time for singers.
gosh.
There was no jazz at all in 1963. No jazz, no saxophones, only clarinet. And that was, to me, that was like, I was there for like 4 years, and I just really struggled trying to assume their traditions, because they couldn't assume my tradition. They had no idea about American music at all, American jazz. They were like very Eurocentric to the extreme, and they have a tradition to uphold, just like ballet. They have. You want to be a ballerina, you got to like jump through these certain hoops, and the same thing with opera singers. But my heart wasn't into it, and then I had to leave. I left John, so we had to get other singers to replace Dave. But that was that. And then after a while, I left, and I was there with you, Mucusless, and I used to go. We were in the school at the same time, and a wonderful. The only time I ever saw a sax in that school, Morris Goldberg, a South African, also an expatriate who came over with you, Mucusless. He played the Lieutenant Kiji Suite. And I said, "Wow, what's that? A sax in Manhattan School?" Like we gathered around him like he had brought in the golden calf or something. But it was really, really wild. And then I did R&B for a while. Jazz took a nosedive in the 70s. The clubs started closing in the early 70s, and I started doing R&B bands. And mine was actually the first band at a club in New York called CBGB's. We're the first band to use amps. And the reason I know that is because Hilly Crystal, who owned CBGB's, pulled me over one day. I was walking down the street on Bowery, and he said, "You guys were the first rock band in here." And I went, "Yeah, remind me, Hilly." Hilly used to be the bartender at the Village Vanguard when I was 15 years old and singing there with And he said, "Yeah, you had a band called Squeeze."
Huh.
And I said, "Yeah, oh yeah, I remember." He said, "Yeah, and remember you told me, come on, let's please, I want to bring amps in. The war is almost over, we'll keep it really soft." And Hilly was like, "Nah, I can't do that, man. My neighbors are going to complain." Meanwhile, he had dogs running around shitting on the floor, and he was a real beatnik, And he had folk singers, acoustic acts. And I begged him. I said, "Come on, Hilly, man, we'll keep it down." So there we were. We went in with amps, and we were the first amps that were ever in that joint, and the first rock band.
Wow.
That came in their R&B rock.
Did you keep it down?
I guess so. I guess we do. I it's kind of, in that world, I guess so. I mean, or maybe I'm just losing my hearing from the
Maybe.
yeah. We did that. I did that for like 10 or 15 years. And then I had a gig in St. Croix. I got a letter from my friend. He said, "Man, they're going to fire the band. They need a singer." And I was living in Port Jefferson, Long Island, working as a as a gardener, commuting to New York City every day, working as a gardener. Working in selling retail, and they used to have a couple of big plant retail stores in New York, Manhattan. A couple, not many, but 3 or 4. They sold trees and not only just indoor plants, but outdoors stuff. And I got a lot of information about that. But then I got this call, come to St. Croix. I went to St. Croix. I was like 1972, something like that. And there was a band waiting for a singer. And we were the band from New York. Everybody, we integrated the island. I mean, every young person on that island of St. Croix came to our gig on Friday, Saturday night to dance and just be there and hang out. It was like the hip club.
Oh.
But there was also a little jazz, a little bar where the bartender liked jazz and a piano. And there was a pianist who had jumped ship from a cruise ship. He couldn't take it anymore. And conga player. So the piano conga and I did this jazz. It's like 7 people in the room, 7 or maybe less. And then there was a bunch of Irish guys, construction guys that were there, and they had their own bar, and on their jukebox was all this country and western. So I played country and western on the guitar solo act to make $50 in a sandwich, and then between that and a jazz gig, rock gig, I had 3 kinds of music at once, really, really professional basis. And that's when I decided, man, jazz is my heart. I got to get back to jazz. And that's what I did. I had a good, wonderful girlfriend at that time. I'd go back to, jazz. Write a letter to Sweet Basil and tell them you're going to come in town and you want to play, So I didn't get the gig in Sweet Basil, but I did come back to jazz. And I ended up getting a gig in Sweet. By that time, it had changed the name to Sweet Rhythm. But lots of things have happened. Then I had a gig at the Copacabana when it was still the Copacabana. I followed Eartha Kitt into that. And I lasted 1 set. 1 set. But the guy says, he hears me playing with a pianist, and he says, yeah, why don't you come and play for the Copa? And I went, he says, you have 9-piece charts, right? And, oh, yeah, no problem. And I scrambled to get 9-piece charts, and I cleaned houses, I taped up drafty windows, I did everything to get these charts. Then they fired me after the first set.
Oh God. Oh.
But I had these charts. I had 10 9-piece charts, and I met Clem DeRosa, who was the house band, Richie DeRosa's dad. I don't know if you know Richie DeRosa.
No.
He's a wonderful arranger. He works on sometimes on Monday night at the Village Vanguard, at the Monday night orchestra. Used to be Thad and Mel. Now that I call it the Vanguard Orchestra. But anyway, I digress. So I had these charts, and then all of a sudden I got a job. I was still teaching. Walter Davis Jr. was playing piano for one of my students, who was a guy that owned a club called Green Street in New York, who created the club, Jean-Pierre Lepelt. And Jean-Pierre Lepelt said, you want to be the maitre d' of Green Street? Because I want to go back to France and invent French fast food. He came from a restaurant family.
Oh, wow.
Brilliant guy. A couple of the restaurants that he created are still up and running in New York. And I said, I don't know, man. I grew up in a grocery store. I don't know anything about that. He said, all you got to know is your best customers' names. And no matter what happens, you never give away table 100 near the bandstand for less than $100. If somebody flashes you a $50 bill and goes, I want to sit at that table in the front, you say, sorry, it's reserved. But I could bring my 9-piece band in there. I said, I'll do it if I can also sing and help bring in the artists. I'll help hire the people. So I got a chance to sing with a lot of great people. I did like duets. That's when I first met Mulgrew Miller.
Yeah.
And I just had a great opportunity to do duets and trios, me and bass and piano, and I also brought my 9-piece band. And then at that
Cool.
time, I started dating Kim Shaw was her name at that time, Kim Kalesti, mother of Alex and Emily, and brought her into the club and the 9-piece band. And the next thing I know, we recorded, and that's the recording that you heard. That recording that you heard was it's about 35 years old.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I'm uh, I was happy to do it, and it still holds up. It's an analog recording. I still go. Am I going to sing that note flat? Wait a minute. No, you saved it. You're scooped up. Oh, you got it at the end of the note. All right.
Actually, it'd be nice to hear something else. I'm gonna.
Yeah. Well, there's this thing I did with a band at Birdland, and the song is called "Bye Bye Blues." Bye Bye Blues.
Okay. Let's see.
Anderson arranged it. I don't know if it's there or
I'll just record "Bye Bye Blues"
yeah.
right here. Marion Cowings sings
That's it.
"Bye Bye Blues."
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Here we go.
Bye bye blues, bye bye blues. Bells ring, birds sing, sun is shining, no more pining, just we two sailing through. Bells ring, birds sing, bye bye blues. Shabba-dee-doo-bee-bop, smiling through. Bells ring, birds sing, bye bye blues, bye bye blues, bye 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 blues.
Marion Cowings. Marion Cowings.
Yeah, that was fun. Great.
I had a thrill when I watched that. That was Lou Anderson. You know him as, I don't know, if you're old enough to remember the Howdy Doody show.
Yeah.
He was the original Clarabelle the Clown.
Yeah.
Lou Anderson, that guy that announced me, he was the original Clarabelle the Clown, or one of the incarnations, and then he handed it over to the guy who became Mr. Green Jeans or whatever. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But when you asked for Lou Anderson for an autograph, he would give you this picture of him as Clarabelle the Clown. He actually created that character.
Wow.
I love him. What a great genius arranger. No rehearsal, by the way. That band was all the Broadway people. That trumpet player, Glenn Drews, was the trumpet player. There was no rehearsal. I mean, He said we hit at 5:30. Be here at 5. Meet me in the dressing room. Sit in the dressing room on a bench. I've never seen these charts before. He said, I said, how many bars in, and then how many bars out? What's the tag? And we went over like 3 tunes like that, and then we went in and hit. It was so much fun. I mean, I still get a thrill watching the energy and the joy. I
Yeah.
mean, I was actually that happy.
Yeah.
You know, it was a great. Oh, so all those players play on the Broadway shows,
Oh, yeah.
but they have to be in the theater like 7 o'clock or 7:30.
Yeah.
7:30 curtain. But to get their rocks off, they would come to Birdland on 44th Street and play in Lou Anderson's band, so they could have some fun. They were reading too. You know, they could read shit off flypaper. They were
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
They'd never seen those charts before.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And there's
How fun.
another. Jim Cummins was the photographer. He's a friend of mine from high school, and I remember I had to put the monitor at my feet because he's standing right behind me. Usually, there's nobody there except him.
Uh-huh.
And I said, like, to the sound man, I'll give you $50 if you put the monitor at my feet, so I could, because otherwise, the odds are 17-1 that I'm going to hear. So
You had to pay him, though. I think that's like.
he said, "No, you don't have to pay me." He said, "That's my job."
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
So, wow. Okay. So, yeah, there was. I'm just wondering. I'm wondering, like, you obviously have had a lot of experience in the music arena, and I don't know what I want to ask you. Kind of want to ask you about life choices. That do you ever? I mean, you did other things. You said you worked as in the plant. I'm not sure how to say that. The plant industry,
yeah.
or
Yeah, I did that too. It's like a hobby going berserk. I did that. I still do it
yeah,
occasionally, but now as a consultant because I can't really lift the bags of soil and all the gear and shit that goes involved in it. But I have workers that can work with me. Go and do a roof design and install gardens and rooftops in New York. But I also, you talking about choices. There was a point where I was making a living with Kim and performing those duets
yeah,
with a 9-piece band, and we had 2 kids. We had a brand newborn Emily King, who's now a big pop star, and Alexander. It was 18 months. They were 18 months and a day apart, and we did this gig. We had a cruise ship thing, and then somehow we had an 8-week gig at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Florida, brand new hotel.
Excuse me. She was a singer as well. So both of you were
Yeah.
singing as a
Right,
singing duo.
right. And we did this gig in the Ritz-Carlton, and the ambassador from Brazil was there, and we sang a song called Samba de Amor by Bob Cunningham. And he goes, "Oh, I know that song." I go, "You know that song?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "I wrote the lyrics." He goes, "Wow." And I said, "I've always wanted to come to Brazil." So we arranged it for us to come to Brazil. It was going to pay $700 a month, something like that. And I thought, man, I could make $700 at a wedding, in one night for 2 hours, and I don't have to drag my kids to some strange country that I don't know anything about. Little did I know that amount of money that he offered me, I could have servants, in Brazil for that money.
Yeah.
So, and at the exact same time, one of the members of my 9-piece band, Tom Boris, a Barry sax player, was the head of he was the other Barry sax player. I didn't own anybody, but he said to me, "Do you want to come and teach at NYU?" He was the head of the jazz department at
Oh,
NYU,
yeah.
and I said, "No, no, I'm making a good money. I'm making, He said, "Well, it doesn't pay much. It pays like $50 a student, and it's 3 blocks from your house. You can go to Brazil, or you can come here and teach at NYU." So I went to NYU with Kim. Kim and I went to NYU, and we taught for 11 years. We created the vocal jazz department at New York University. We created it. It wasn't there before us. The reason that he asked us to do it was because the university was losing money to Berkeley and to New School. Their jazz programs, they were taking away money basically from singers that wanted to, or jazz people. So I said no, 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 and I sent Hal Schaefer, one of my mentors. Hal Schaefer, one of my mentors, I sent him there, and he taught for a couple of years, and then I finally just gave up when I had these 2 little kids, 6 just born and 18 months, and I went, all right, I'll do it, and I ended up being there for 11 years teaching privately.
Well, I know about administration in universities. I've taught in universities as well. So somebody was obviously in your corner for you to actually create the jazz vocal department, right?
Yeah, students wanted it. Students wanted something. They wanted something more than musical theater.
Yeah.
And if you were a singer, that was your choice, musical theater.
Yeah.
So it was this whole other generation of people coming up that wanted something different, and we were pushing jazz, and I still do,
Yeah.
So yeah, Tom Boris was in my corner. Yeah, he was the head of the jazz department. And he saw me teach. When we went to St. Croix, it would be like all these people in bathing suits sitting around for the jazz concert, and then at the end, we do a spontaneous. I would do a spontaneous with Kim. We get the people to sing, like a tune like Centerpiece,
Yeah.
an F, and then divide the group into 3 parts. This section, the left section, you go bop, ba-doo, bop. That's your whole part. Doing that, okay. In the middle section, did it and did it and did it and did it and dow, and then the last section, and then we get like an instant Count Basie band, and everybody was thrilled that they could sing, and that it sounded great at the beginning with no notes, nothing on paper.
Yeah.
Blues an F.
Well, F is the magic key. That's why.
The work. Yeah, what do they call it? The magic key. Yeah, the working person's key or something. The key of the people. So that's how I got started. That's why he asked me to come and teach there, and that's what happened.
So
I got my teaching chops together, and then I had some famous students, and I still do. And I was left alone. I didn't have to go into the meetings with the other teachers, and
Yeah.
it's a terrible death to be talked to death. It's a horrible death.
Well, the administrative stuff kills you as a teacher, when you're,
It kills your
yeah,
spirit.
it's just it's
It's
so,
bullshit.
yeah, it is. That's why
And then
eventually I got out of it. That's why
And I
eventually
realized-
I got out of it. Yeah.
I realized what's going on here, New York University. What is New York? It's a fucking real estate business. Them and Columbia own more real estate than the Catholic Church. The only people that they really care, they don't care about the students. They don't care about the professors. They care about endowments. And who's going to give them the big bucks, tax write-off? Who's going to give them the $40 million to buy another building, or create more of this thing, It's an institution whose primary purpose is to keep itself going as an institution, The music department was like, who's going to give you a $40 million endowment? Which graduate is going to come? Even a $2 million endowment? Who's going to, so they supported they supported scientific things, and you know, I'm just so against. I'm just so against the way education happens, because it doesn't teach us how to be, in Yiddish, a mensch to each other. It doesn't teach us how to be good to each other. It teaches us specific talents in our fields. I mean, if you want to be an astronomer, you got to go to astronomy classes. You know, which now everything is online, so they're losing the shirt anyway because of the pandemic. You know, the institutional buildings. You know, they're all trying to reinvent themselves and become practical and more inclusive. And hooray for Women's Month! Just started today, I think, National Women's Month. But I mean, what can I say? I was very disenchanted, and so I started my own school, finishing school for saloon singers, where you could pay me $40, and then have a real rhythm section there for 3 hours, and you'd get up to sing a song. I'd critique you. You'd be in a jazz club. We had it at Smalls for 7 years.
Oh,
You'd be in a real club. You know, there's no smoking, of course. The bottles are up on the wall. But I didn't turn on the camera because it was too private. It's like, would you turn on the camera in a psychiatrist's office? No.
yeah.
That's what it's like. That's what it was, as revealing as some people broke out crying and got to realize who they are and what their purpose of singing was, and how to get in touch with their own feelings, and in order to be able to manipulate the feelings of their audience, or at least come in contact with those feelings, and not be, not think of themselves as like a cherry on top of an ice cream sundae, and that's all they had to do was look good.
Yeah.
The whole art of communicating in jazz, that's what I was. That's what I can guide people to, their inner strengths. That's what I'm lucky at. I have these two sets of genes, three at least. One is teaching, one is performing, and one is interest in plants. I learned all the names of these plants, all the Latin names. I could remember them mysteriously. Somebody told me I was a woman horse doctor in my last life. I was a Japanese woman horse doctor.
Oh, interesting.
Two people told me that.
Really?
Of course, I don't remember any of it. But I thought maybe that's my relationship with plants, because the plants are used for healing.
Yeah.
And maybe that was my attraction, is like a hangover from my last life.
Yeah.
I don't know. So send me that book about the person that had the,
Okay.
near-death experiences, and they came back.
Well, actually, not near death. Actually, the in-between of lives. So he would interview a person about their the space between their last life and this life, where they went when they died, who they met, their guides, what was the experience of it, and
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I got a pen. You may write it down, or you send it to me
No,
later.
because I can't remember the whole entire name. So I'll send it to you.
What's going on with your singing?
Well, yeah, it's such an interesting time. I've been kind of continually working. It's not really kind of. It's working continually on recordings, and of course, I had been gigging as much as possible too, and then this year I've been putting out. I had my next recording in the can as far as the band goes. I had two bands, and it was quite good bands, and then I had rough tracks for vocals. So what I've been doing, because I was kind of interested in doing it because it was something new, I started putting out singles. So I've put out 3 singles, and right now, let's see, today in another 10 days, my next single will come out. And
Congratulations.
thanks. And I have Paul Jost as a guest. Do you know Paul?
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And the cool thing is too that I've been making iMovies to go along with them. And I'm really enjoying that. It's kind of like being in the studio and producing, making the iMovies, you decide which pictures to use and where the timing is and
Yep.
shortening that picture or
Yep.
putting in a transition. So I've been really enjoying that a lot.
Wow. That sounds really like a lot of fun.
Yeah. And for that project, the songs are from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, maybe 90s. Just songs that I really liked, especially from the 60s or 70s. Like the first one I did was Make Me Wanna Holler.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's like one of my Desert Island albums.
Good.
Yeah. And then let's see. Well, then I actually took a song from my last record straight ahead to the UK, Sermonette. You know the Sermonette.
Yep.
And so I did Sermonette, and
Nice.
I've been doing songs that are uplifting and communal. Like the next song I did was Get Together from the old days. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody, right? So I did
Yeah.
that one, and then I can't tell you which one is coming out now because it's a surprise.
Okay.
I'll tell you later.
Good. Wow, I'm glad you're putting it out. Jon Hendricks said, if you're not appearing, you're disappearing."
Oh, that's cool. How was
You're
it working?
appearing.
How was it being with and working with Jon Hendricks? It must have been really lovely.
Yeah, he was my musical father. I had two musical fathers, him and a guy named Hal Schaefer, who was Marilyn Monroe's coach. And how was it working with him?
Yeah.
It was always exciting. He has a lot of information. He talked a lot. He couldn't really get in a word in edgewise when he was talking. You just had to listen. And he was like full of historical information about the music and musicians and situations and philosophies, and he's, it was great being around him. I loved him. I wanted to be like him so much that I started writing lyrics to impress him. The Freddie the Freeloader is a lyric that I wrote. He really took me under his wing when I was like 15. He took me to Philadelphia to Peps, where Freddie the Freddie Talbert was the bartender.
Now, the lyrics you wrote were those the ones that everybody sang?
No,
Oh,
no, he ended up writing his own lyrics.
okay.
But to my credit, one I was singing at a club called the Tin Palace in New York City, a little club on Third Avenue in Bower, in a snowy winter day. Snowy. I had a great band: Kenny Barron, Eddie Gomez, Al Foster, and Gary Bartz. And the door opens, and I'm singing. I call Freddie the Freeloader, and the door opens, and in walks Freddie. Walks right up to the front table, right 3 feet in front of me, and I sing this song about him to him. And he told me that was his favorite version of lyrics to his song.
Oh, I'd like to hear the lyrics.
My Grammy for that one. John did a great recording with some really great great singers on Blue Note. With, his own version, but my story is different. Mine was like autobiographical. What Freddie meant to me.
Oh,
He was a guy who couldn't play any music at all. He wasn't a musician. He hung around Miles Davis a lot. But as a bartender, when the music started playing, he shushed everybody at the bar. The bandstand was at the end of the bar, raised up, and he would just stand there with us, listening to the music, and he was just a lover, a great lover of music. And at the time, I was having this schizophrenia about should I be a singer or should I go to medical school, blah, blah, blah. And I went, man, if there's somebody in this world that loves music that much, I can't even play anything, then maybe music is the right choice for me to, you know, to bring joy to the world. And then I wrote that song about Freddie.
Huh.
I wrote the lyrics, But
Can you remember any of them?
yeah, I know it's a lot. When trouble surrounds you and bounds you, you feel like flying, but you're crying. You needn't pay the whole day, never mind the reason. I mean, there's when I wrote lyrics to Wynton Kelly's solo. It's like 7 choruses long.
Oh, I see.
But the idea was that even the meanest cat won't hurt your feelings if you'd only maintain your singing. That's all that I'm saying. Basically, there was some mean cats. My dad was very, very strict. He really, I love him and I respect him. He didn't understand why I was veering away from a career where I could make a living and into going into this realm of the unknown of being a singer. But that was my issue when I was 15. Finally, we made a truce later on in life. I had a band called Dada. I played at a club called The Scene in New York City, a rock band. And I've just been very privileged. I've been lucky. Like, for some reason, I've met some of the great musicians of the world, and I played with some of the great musicians of the world. And, because of my association with Jon Hendricks, I got to hang out, where he hung out, and with who he hung out. And, some pretty phenomenal things happened. And he didn't really, I learned all this music, but he never really said, well, this is what you have to do. One critical thing he said to me was, you got to sing in tune. That was it. That was the lesson. You watch out for your pitch. That was it. And that was enough.
Wow. David Afram, you know David Afram?
Yes.
He's a New Yorker. He's 92 or 90. I can't remember. Anyway, he was the French horn player for all the bebop guys. And then he was the resident composer for the New York Philharmonic. Then he kind of went into he still plays piano, sings, writes. He's really an interesting man. But let's see.
I was on a gig, and he was on a gig too. He came to the gig. It was a tribute to. It was a charity event, and Dick Cavett was there, and Bill Cosby was there, and he was there.
Huh.
I have some photographs of us together.
Oh,
He was playing penny whistle at the time.
right. That's right. He's really good at that, actually.
On his neck, so he doesn't have to look searching for it. And his son was there. Nice cat. No
Very
ego.
nice. Yeah, no ego. I talked with him a few months ago on this, and yeah, very, really nice. We had a mutual friend. That's how I got hip to him. Who's she lived in New York for a long time, but then she moved to LA and she became a film scorer. She wrote her name's Catherine Bostic. She wrote the score for the Toni Morrison film. Did you see that? The documentary?
No.
Oh, you'd like that. It's such a good film. Well,
Okay,
Toni
sure.
Morrison is.
Toni Morrison.
Yeah. And Catherine is she's actually, my friend Dan and I are co-producing her. So we're actually almost at the end of the record, which is a pretty mind-blowing record. Great.
All right, I'll listen. It's
Yeah.
the Toni Morrison biography,
Documentary.
documentary. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There's a lot of stuff on her. Well, what else?
Let's see. Wait a minute. I'm answering somebody who's having trouble, or on my YouTube channel. They'd like to come and they're not having good luck. Frank Griffith. He's a sax player, an expatriate who lives in England.
I know Frank.
You do?
Yeah. Adam.
Yeah.
I know all the cats. Okay.
Of course you do.
Right. That's I've been lucky that way. I've been lucky that way.
Do you
Yeah.
have you ever been totally knocked out in life and had to perform anyway?
Yes. I did a commercial. That's how I met Hal Schaefer. This
Oh,
guy.
really?
Yeah. They said, we want a guy that can sound like Joe Williams. I was at Manhattan School of Music studying opera, a bass repertoire. They wanted me to sing bass, so I sang bass repertoire. And
Uh,
I worked my lower register so much that I actually have a really strong lower register. They wanted somebody to do a jingle for Hair Straightener called Hair Straight. And Hal Schaefer called me up and he said, I heard that you could sound like Joe Williams if you had to. And the night before, I had no sleep. I had zero sleep, and as well as I that the best stimulant for a singer is to have a good night's rest before a gig.
it's true.
And I had no rest, zero. And I went in and I did this silly jingle, and it won a Clio award for the best commercial. And I had
Wow.
it was very strange. I was convinced. I said I'm too tired to sing anything good, but I'll do it as a gig. But then on my lifelong relationship with Hal Schaefer, who died about 2 years ago, great player. He coached everybody. But when I say he coached Marilyn, he really literally changed her from being a comedian actor to a singer. All those like Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. He coached her. He taught her. He got her to sing, to believe in herself. Unfortunately, he fell in love with her, and while she was married to Joe DiMaggio, and that it was kind of rough. He had some rough times.
Huh.
Got over it. He's Hal Schaefer. They just put him up on YouTube. It's spelled like the beer, Schaefer beer.
Okay, cool.
I could send you a photo of Hal teaching Marilyn. He was a 20th Century Fox lot. His friend owned 20th Century Fox movies.
Wow.
And he brought Hal in to write scores for the movies.
Okay.
And he said, "Oh, by the way, I have this actress. I want her to sing in the movies. Can you coach her?" And he got her going.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Hal was.
I just saw her singing "Happy Birthday to Mr. President."
That's right. And I did a recording with Hank Jones was the piano player on that. You don't see him. He worked with her. Yeah, he said that she made him practice for like 12 hours on Happy Birthday, just that one song. Just him and her. I said, "Man, you had to be in a room with Marilyn Monroe for 12 hours working on a song. You really paid your dues, man." She wanted to get it right. Hank Jones was also the brother of Elvin Jones and
Thad Jones.
Thad Jones, right? The Jones Boys. What a musical family that turned out to be.
Yeah, those guys were miracle guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
I recorded with him when he was 93.
Oh.
This album, I'm going to hold it up to you. Hank and
Oh,
Frank.
cool.
I was the boy singer on this one.
Wow.
Ilya Lushtak was on it, and Frank West was
Huh.
about 89. Mickey Roker wouldn't tell anybody his age, but he was up there. Believe me, he was up there.
Wow.
Frank, that's. I did that record about maybe 10 years ago, and it still holds up. I don't like to go back and listen to the past. I like to move on. It was good. It was good. It was a great experience. Hank started playing an introduction to a song, and then he just stopped. And I thought, well, what was wrong with that?
Yeah.
And he said, I just want to do it over. And he did a completely different introduction the second time. Oh, what an amazing he played. He had like
Gorgeous.
the facility of a young boy, but the taste of a person that really understood music, understands the rests are as important as the notes, the
Yeah, he's
patience.
just beautiful. He's so melodic and harmonically sophisticated and just with an amazing touch.
Yep.
Really
A lot of
gorgeous. I believe it was Roberta Gambarini who I was speaking with. She had a relationship with him and also Jimmy Heath. And yeah, she had a few very strong relationships with some of these classic people and just did some wonderful musical things.
well,
She's
the I
quite
Ching.
good.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I call it the I Ching, but it says it furthers one to meet the great man. But it could mean it furthers one to meet the great person. You know,
Yeah.
just to meet them, it furthers you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Interacting is a gift, but just to be there, you get something from being around them. I'm sure you've met people like that.
Well, I think that's why I brought up David Amram because, and I probably didn't say his name right last time, but anyway, he said, who was he hanging with? Was it Charlie Parker? And he said something like he had the scholarship. He got the scholarship to hangology because he would hang out with people and learn. And also, like one time he was hanging with Charlie Parker and oh, his name just went out of my head. The bass player. Oh, Charlie Mingus. So Mingus came in and they were introduced, and Mingus asked him if he wanted to go on the road with them to Europe, just like that,
Wow.
because Charlie Parker, was speaking up for him.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I got to. I was in the dressing room at the Village Gate,
Uh huh.
uh, and I remember Carmen McRae was playing. She was
Yeah.
on the stage, and Coleman Hawkins was in the dressing room with Jon Hendricks and Annie Ross and me. And down the stairs comes Charlie Mingus, and he was known for being like kind of socially kind of gruff sometimes, and when he saw Coleman Hawkins, he turned into a little child. He turned into like the most adoring fan. It's like if you can imagine a teenager meeting one of the Beatles, it was like that kind of reverence.
Wow.
And it was just, I wish I'd had a camera videotaped it. This is the Charlie Mingus that is still able to advance himself on admiration through admiration. It was just amazing. Hangology. Talk about hangology. I've been in some really interesting hanging places. With Jon Hendricks and Dave Lambert, Annie Ross. I played Annie Ross. I hired a pianist for last New Year's. Not 2021, 2020 New Year's Eve to play her party at Annie Ross's house, Tarataka Uno. And then she died like 6 months later. But that was the last time. Well, I had seen her a couple of times since then. I went after the New Year's Eve party. But Amy London was in her house. Then when she died, then Scott, Mary Scott, um, her husband used to own a jazz club in London called Scott's, Jimmy
Oh,
Scott's,
uh,
the famous jazz club in
yeah,
London. Anyway,
Ronnie Scott.
Ronnie Scott, right? Yeah. So Mary Scott was friends with him, very close friends with Annie, so she called me in to help clean out the apartment and put all the stuff, send it to museums, and Amy was there for a day. And this pillow is from Annie Ross's house.
Oh.
Okay,
Oh.
mementos that I kept.
That's nice.
When I was a little boy, I was in love with her.
That's nice. Yeah.
She was a real movie star.
That's so
to me.
cool. I've done stuff like that. I had a drummer friend who was great, Frank Severino, who played with Carmen for like 9 years, and just a wonderful musician and kind of a father figure to me when I first came to LA. When he passed, I took some wooden spoons that he cooked with, because he loved to cook for me. He'd bring me over to his house, his kid and his wife, and he was Italian, he cooked. So that was what I wanted to have, as a remembrance.
That's so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little things. I mean, you open your drawer and there they are, and there he is. His energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Well, we all come and go.
Yeah.
We all come and go.
We do. So, well, you mentioned a bunch of people there. Were there any other people who really made an impact on you, as far as like what you said, like a fan impact that really like made you have a different point of view?
Yeah, there were some blues singers like the Bobby Blue Bland,
Oh, yeah.
and Junior Wells made a big impact on me, in my life. I wanted take everything I can from their style.
Yeah.
I do blues gigs, separate than my jazz gigs, where I just sound like I'm from the farm. I sound like Blind Lemon Pledge.
Huh.
I don't do that much talking in between. I just do my best impersonation of Muddy Waters and Junior Wells and Bobby Blue Bland and Freddie King.
Yeah.
I loved Freddie King, and there were some women that knocked my socks off too. Carmen McRae was one of the ones that knocked my socks off, because she could be so perfect. She was just her tone was so delicious, velvety, and her control of her pitch. Like she'd sometimes hit a note, and I go, "Oh, Carmen, you're not under, you're under," and she'd just get by the end of the note, she's like, "Well, the way up." That's perfect, young man. I heard the story about her one time. She had Barry Harris when he was a young man had a gig, and Carmen McRae walks in and she says, "Can I sit in with you?" And he says, "Yeah, of course." So she gets on the stage, and she used to back phrase like Billie Holiday, sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah. So Barry was trying to accommodate the great Carmen, so he starts playing back. And he's not up on one. He's not helping the groove. He's playing like a little bit back, like she is,
Yeah.
And then she gets through with the song. She walks off the stage, not saying a word to them. So then the next night she comes back again, and she says, "Can I come up and sing?" He says, "Yeah, come on up." So she gets on the piano, and she taps with one finger the tempo. And she looks at Barry and she goes, "And by the way, I know where I am." And he immediately he stopped the bullshit. He realized you can't go back when a singer goes back on when you have to help the groove. This is jazz, The rhythm section goes back. You have to almost put on blinders when you have playing with a singer like Billie Holiday, because she was so back phrased. You know what I'm talking about.
I do, totally, yeah. Well, I know. I was talking about that. Oh, I know. I have a class that I join on Thursdays. My friend Luther Hughes, who's really great bass player, he teaches this class for college, and he has about 5 people like you and I, professionals, old friends. Actually, Chuck Israels is one of the people on there. He played with Bill Evans for years. And so the last time we were talking, we were actually talking about verses and how, we were introducing some verses to the students and how the art of rubato,
Right.
and how you don't wake up as a musician, you don't wake up one day and you're able to play rubato. It's like it's an art form that you have to practice, and just talking about the give and take. Sometimes you wait, sometimes you lead.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many subtleties. I always tell my students, rubato is an art form, and so really respect it,
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I tell them that it originally comes from the recitativo of opera, the thing that they recite before they break into an aria. That's a singy, talky, singy thing, talky, singy thing. And in my opinion, I think the hangover in modern music is the verse, and so I mean, if you're going to sing a rubato verse, you got to give the accompanying person the words as well as the notes. You just can't just give them the notes. You have to give them the words so they can have another way of following you around, and knowing when to pause and when to accelerate, and when, because by the way you speak, it's spoken rubato, to rob the tempo.
Yeah.
If you're not robbing the tempo, but it is an art, just like you said. It's an art, and there's so few pianists who pay attention to that. Most people, everybody wants to be acknowledged for what they do best.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my opinion, even dead people want to be acknowledged. That's why we have poltergeists. But to work with a singer to accompany another human being is something that it's give and take, a lot of listening. Something you should have learned in the sandbox, but you didn't. How to share, and they certainly don't teach it in colleges
Or elementary schools. I mean, I always thought, boy, if they taught communication course just like they taught history or something,
Right.
we'd be a lot better off as a community of countries and
That's
such.
right.
Yeah.
Well, countries lie, governments lie. It's up to us to glue people back together with music and some truths.
Yeah.
The truths of poetry, the truths of lyrics. Most of the stuff that I know about life, love relationships and stuff like that, and how to love people, I learned from the lyrics of songs.
Really?
I
That's
did- I
cool.
I think so. I mean, more than religious dogma. I learned, try a little tenderness. Okay, if that's not working, the other thing, then I went, "Oh, what a novel idea, tenderness." I have this other crackpot theory. Most guys don't even learn how to love until they get a car. When they get a car, they learn how to give.
That's funny.
Finally learn, this is this thing that needs them, that they have to take care of outside of their own ego and their own, it's like they have to give beyond their capacity. That's a good rehearsal for having kids. Then you have kids, and then you really have to learn that sacrifice is the law of life, But most guys they never hook it up. So I remember I had a car, and I just all of a sudden I need a transmission. Where the hell am I going to get the money for a transmission? But I need it. I did it. I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. So
Yeah,
I
it's
learned.
funny. Speaking of that, like, things that you feel like you gave up. Yeah, I mean, we all have that. And I remember even when I met my second husband, who I've been with now for almost 20 years. I had always dated and married an artist, you know, and so when I met him, I thought of him as somewhat of an artist. He was doing the lighting board operating for the Tonight Show, and so he actually had to set up the lights for the bands. So I thought of that as an art form, but he never did. He never even went along with that perspective of himself. So, and he was very stable, and even though he was, you know, kind of a little devilish, thank God. He was still much more straight than I had been used to. And at that point in my life, I think I had experiences over and over where I was the stronger person, you know, making things go right and supporting. Right. And I was kind of tired of that. And I just wanted somebody else not to support me necessarily only, but also, you know. Right. And so, but that was a giving up of, at the time, I thought of that as a giving up of my freedom. And I just looked at it. One of my girlfriends said something to me very dramatic, and I was like, yeah, mm-hmm. And also because I believe in other lifetimes, I just figured, you know, I've lived a wild life this time around. I can live a wild life the next time around too. You know, this is something I need. I need some stability. And that was really a good choice on my part. I really moved up, you know, a level.
We all need patronage. We need financial patronage. We need aesthetic patronage. We need both. You know, even, you know, Leonardo da Vinci and you know, Michelangelo, they you know, they all had patrons. You know, record companies used to pretend to be the patrons of artists, but you know, we found out where they were at, and with their 3 sets of books and you know, their jive choices of the artists that they put out in the world, and but I understand where you're coming from. It's just, I'm glad 20 years, the proof is in the pudding. You're still there, you know?
Yeah.
You're there 20 years later, and you're stable and
yeah,
look great. I like your hair.
Thank you. I like yours too.
Thank you.
So actually, I was going to ask you, I mean, I know that you had various choices and you mentioned them. Did you also have one or some choices that were dramatic that you went, okay, I mean, you mentioned when you were writing Freddie the Freeloader, and that seemed pretty dramatic, you know, a point of view, like click, you know, for you. Right. Were there other times, or
the light bulb went off?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I have had some light bulb experiences relating to a lot of different things, and music. You know, when I met the head gardener at the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens, that was mind altering. That was, you know, Frank Bowman was his name. He loved plants, and I went. You know, I was looking for a day job, and I had no skills except, you know, grocery. I was a grocer, you know, and I didn't want to go back to that. So then I had like 6 house plants, and then my dog knocked one of them over, a Swedish ivy, and I put it back in the pot. And I got angry at my dog for knocking it over. And then all this, and after a few weeks, the plant was better than new. It just like rebound. You know, it came back, and I apologized to my dog. Angry. I don't want the resentment. So then with this, okay, now I know I can plant things. So I went to the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens and I stood there and I filled out an application. The guy says, we haven't hired anybody here in 20 years. Fill this out anyway. So I'm sitting on the bench filling it out, and there's a picture of Elizabeth Scholz, who was the head of the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens, walking through some trees, her favorite trees. And then all of a sudden she walks by me, and I go, "Oh, you're Elizabeth Scholz. You're the head of the garden. Oh, I want to work here. My name is Marion, and I lied about my credentials. And I've done estate gardens in California, and she goes, well, we haven't hired anybody in 20 years, but there's this guy here. He's kind of like you. He's kind of like me. And she's, yeah, I'll introduce. Frank Bowman is his name. He had a TV show on NPR, National Public Television, called Mr. Green Thumb. It was one of the first how-to plant shows on public television, right next to Sesame Street and those kind. And he's, I talked to him for a while, and we walked across the garden, and he had three names for every plant, every blade of grass, and not only the names but what they liked. He's pointing things out to me. He said, hey, "This is ilex. You call it, English ivy, but it likes warm beer. And when the older it gets, the leaves stop being pointy. They start getting round. If you want to know how old this ivy is on your wall, just look at the leaves. If they're round on the ends, it means it's been here for. This guy was like,
wow."
He said, "Okay, meet me Saturday morning, 149 East 149th Street. You'll be my helper." Went to this little brownstone, knocked on the door, and the woman answered the door, and she said, "Oh, but here you are, the men that work the miracles. You're here." She was moving to Florida, and she wanted to take her garden from the brownstone on 149th Street in the East River to Florida. And the way she was doing it would have taken a couple of semi trucks, 18-wheelers. But he showed me how to cut a plant, how to cut a tree down without hurting it, and saving the tap root and backing up and burlap and just on and on. I mean, he was an amazing gardener, Frank.
Yeah.
He started the Cactus House at the Brooklyn Botanic, which is, they got millions of dollars and turned it into a big building. And now they call it the tropical building, and adjacent to it is the cactus room.
Wow.
But that was one of those meet the great person, change your life moments.
And did you work for him for a long time?
Yes, a couple of years. I worked with him.
Wow.
Soaked up everything he knew. I really took it, He was so well known in that world that when I went for a job in the nursery in Manhattan, they said, "Well, where have you worked before?" And I said, "Well, I worked with Frank Bowman as his personal help." Me, okay, yeah, come on in, you're hired. No, it's like Charlie Parker and I call him David M. Ram. I call him, you have the English pronunciation of the A. I call him David, but it was one of those kind of moments. Who do you know? Somebody, you're cool. He says you're cool. You must be cool. It was a real.
Wow.
He had daughters and millions of plants in his little backyard, and this all in like giant beer cans with cactuses in them, like in holes in the bottom, and just every inch space of his garage was filled with plants. It's just unbelievable.
Wow. Do plants generally like beer?
Well, I don't know about generally, but there's a yeast element in it, and it has to be flat. You can't have the alcohol; has to be evaporated off. But it has. There's certain elements. The fermentation is good. It's good for everything.
Yeah.
Fermentation is good. And
Marion, what? Actually, I do want to hear some more. Maybe now would be a good moment to hear a little bit more of you.
Oh wow! Are you going to put up that website again?
Well,
Maybe I can help.
let's see. Yeah, here's Have You Met Miss Jones? It looks maybe like it might be the same gig at the Blue Note.
No, the same gig was Blue Moon.
Here's If I Were a Bell, 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's swinging. I'm not really sure. But
Ask me how do I feel now that we're cozy and clinging. All I can say is if I were a bell, I'd be ringing. From the moment we kissed tonight, it's the way I just gotta behave. If I were a lamp, I'd light. Or if I were a band, right way. How do I feel? Me with my quiet upbringing. All I can say is if I was a gate, I'd be swinging. If I were a watch, I'd start popping my spring. If I were a gun, ding dong, ding dong. Beyond a day, think about when I bring them. The girl will be glad that I bring them. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a. Oh, the bells within my coffee shop. They'll play until my mama says I'll get my way. I'll wait for her. Now to look out for a girl who's got the cutest and the melodies to play. I wanna tell you a little secret, y'all. I wanna say something. Happy as I can be, because what you said to me is gonna pave my way. It's gonna have a happy ending. We'll hear wedding bells before the girl can get to say Jack Rabbit. Got a girl ready to bring them. All that's left for me to do is start to ring them. I got a little daydream, keep it all. Oh, my rainy day, I couldn't have stopped. You know I never could turn away from those bells that we both were hearing that day. They sound so good that I know I want to hold her a little tighter. So if my baby can't sing, or if at the time in the spring flowers don't come, or if the bees can't hum, if the birdies don't fly into a perfect azure sky, still we'll be ringing them. Ding dong, ding dong, ding. lesson I'm learning. All I can say is if I was a bridge, I'd be burning. Yes, I knew my morale would crack from the wonderful way you wrote. If I was a dog, I'd quack, or if I were a goose, I'd be cooked. How I feel now that we're fondly caressing. If I were salad, you know I'd be splashing my dressing. If I were a season, I'd surely be spring. Hey! The little ditty that bells will certainly ring the bells and meet my little heart smells. Oh, when I hear the bells, oh, when I hear them chime, they ring the happiest time. Oh, you know they'll bring a little golden wedding ring, which means that the girl is mine. All the love I want to give is right on time. If I were a bell, I'd go ding dong, ding dong. Do you dare?
Oh, yeah. Was this a unexpected sit-in?
That was my gig. I'm sure I was at the club in New York, Smalls.
Oh,
And that was Miles Davis solo. I wrote lyrics to Miles Davis's solo on that extended solo that I took.
yeah.
Frank Levin wrote the musical Guys and Dolls, which is still one of my favorite musicals.
Yeah.
And he didn't need any help from me, but I wanted to give that song a shelf life by adding lyrics to the Miles solo, so I did.
Really nice. That was so nice. Your singing is so smooth and totally connected to you, both rhythmically and emotionally and musically. Really nice.
Thank you. That means a lot.
It's great to hear you and watch you.
Thank you.
So nowadays you're teaching and you're performing every now and then. And I mean, I kind of hate this question in general when I hear people talk about what do you perceive is going to be happening. I don't really even want to know, because unless you have some dramatic thing, I don't even want to know what you think is going to, be happening in the future, because nobody really knows. So I'm kind of over.
Right here, let me just look into it. Yeah. Music is forever. That's what I can tell you.
Yeah, that what I have noticed over the last bunch of months. To me, music has always been a big, huge part of my life, and I was just doing my taxes, and I was noticing how much I went out. I went out probably 4 nights a week, or either gigging or seeing music, and but over the last bunch of months, what I have seen online and, in the ways of music performances and talking to people, it makes me feel like we've had a lot bigger influence on the world than I think people took it for granted, actually, up until right now, maybe,
I think you're right. Tony Bennett said people need music like they need food. Just as much.
Yeah.
How are we doing time-wise? We're going to
We
go
have
much
about
longer?
we have about 10 more minutes.
Okay. I put you on mute for a second, and you play something else, and I'll find something else so I can take a trip to the John.
Absolutely. I'll just I'll go looking for something on the music end. And here we go, Marion Cowings again. And let's see. Recollect.
That was in a record store. that sells records. And that was an interview that Jazz at Lincoln Center did.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because I
But,
know you did a bunch of those. But I'll find something and you go do your thing.
Yeah, my instructional videos are pretty interesting because Jazz at Lincoln Center asked me to do something for singers. Blues, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Say, fellas, you lost your woman? I know just how it feels. Just. Sometimes you might feel a little lost without her. I'm gonna sing this blues for you, baby. You hear me? And I want you to remember this last part. Well, I'm drifting, like a ship out on the sea. And I'm drifting, like a ship out on the sea. And I ain't got nobody in this great big world who cares for me, cares for me. If my baby only take me back again. Oh, my baby will stop fooling around and take me back again. You know, I messed around out here, people. Let me tell you. I don't even have no friends, baby. That's the blues. That's the blues. Mr. Chris Carter on the guitar. I'm so sorry, baby, that I didn't mean to treat you wrong. Working more than a girl. You're gonna look for your daddy to come back home. Come back home. That's the name. Get it out there.
Man. That was Chris Carter on guitar, Chulo Gatewood on the bass. I couldn't really see who the drummer was. I think it was Earl G. Grice, and the pianist and the organist. I can't remember right now. That was a blues gig. That's when I said I do the blues, strictly the blues. Like I do a whole gig like that. You know,
Sounds
if I'm
great.
like that, I'm usually singing the blues on my tapes.
Sounds
So
great.
thank you.
Yeah. Do you work with the like organ B3 a lot or?
When I can afford it, when I can, I did a bunch of blues gigs with a nursing home with my band, and there was no organ there, so I just used guitar,
Yeah.
bass, drums, and I didn't ask anybody to bring in an organ. It was like, but I had fun doing those. I love the blues
Sounds
power.
great. Yeah, it sounds really great.
Thank you.
Well, it's been about 2 hours, and I just want to thank you so much for giving us 2 hours of your time.
Hey, thank you for making me a big star, Kathy. Thank you.
Yeah,
Until
man.
Memory
Yeah,
Lane, all those things. I had a ball. I had a ball talking to you. You're a great singer, and I know you're going to make contribution wherever you go and whatever you do. Keep doing it. Please keep
thank
doing it. Carry on.
you. Thank you.
When I come to California, and the world is a little bit better off, we'll do those sessions or whatever. We'll
Yeah,
invite students over again. I'm grateful to you for even suggesting that we do it in the first place. And I always have a lot of laughs. I hated school. That's why I started my own. I hated it. They weren't talking about my issues. But my
yeah,
issues were like, how do I make these people listen to me? How do I make strangers listen to me? And I don't walk out feeling like, oh God, I'm too hip for the room. This what agent booked me in this room? I hate this. I learned through experience.
yeah,
You know what people want and what to give and how to give it. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Well, that's that's the beauty of studying information from somebody like yourself. Who can pass the information along. I mean, nowadays a lot of singers really don't have the ability to have experiences like we did. You know,
that's true.
and so it's kind of it's I think it's challenging to get all the information together and do it. So I applaud you for being a teacher and for passing on the information. It's great.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Right back at you, Kathy.
Should we be looking for something that's going to be happening?
My big gig was like 2 weeks ago. My big, you can still go to a certain website, William Patterson College.
Oh,
I think it's still up. That gig that I did
two
about
weeks.
2 weeks ago.
Cool.
That's the thing I have recently. That I know of.
Okay. So
Something
I'm going
that
to just write this down. You can go to William Patterson. Oh, I should spell William right. William Patterson University
right.
website and
Concert concert schedules, and you have to actually buy a ticket. I think it costs like the $10 is the cheapest ticket you can buy, but it's available for like another 2 weeks online like that, and then maybe after that it's going to be free on YouTube, which is what I'm hoping it's going to happen. But I don't know exactly how they do it.
They get money from the National Endowment for the Arts and the William Patterson University. It's William
Mhm.
Patterson University, not college. Did I say college?
No, you said university.
Okay, and they get money from the state, but they also make money from ticket sales of these shows,
Yeah.
and they have some good players out there now. Uh, Bill Sharlap is in charge of
Oh,
the music department, and he's got a concert coming up in a couple of weeks or something. So they have some good people there. They're good people, and Mulgrew Miller's out there for a while, and because I got the gig. Mulgrew had spoken to them about doing a gig with me there, and it was going to happen, and then he died. Boom, you know, too
I hate when
early.
that happens.
Yeah, he died. Just
I've
messed up
I've
our.
had things like that happen. It's terrible. It's
Well,
really exciting, and then the person dies. It's just yeah,
get it while you can out there, musicians and music lovers. Get it while you can.
yeah,
Yeah,
man. All right. Well, thanks, Marion. Oh, you disappeared. Are you
yeah,
still
yeah,
there?
yeah. Hold on for a second. I'm back. Yeah, that's my
Okay.
son calling in.
All right. Well, thank you again. And ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow I'm going to have on a trumpet player, composer, educator, and author from LA named Dr. Bobby Rodriguez. He's been in this scene for a long time, really good Latin jazz, and he's a really great composer. And then Wednesday, a drummer, Chris Wabich, who's played with a really wide variety of people, and he's real creative. One of the better drummers in LA for sure. And then, just so you know, I have 4 days that I will post from the archives, and those will include Cathy Cousins, Anthony Wilson,
Oh
Rosanna
yeah.
Eckert, and from England, actually the people I was telling you about who busked, Sarah Oshlag and Dan Shepard. So every day around 12, even for the posting, I try and post around 12. So yeah, thanks, Marion. It was really fun.
Oh, cool. I'm glad. I had fun too. Stay safe, Kathy.
Thank you. Have a great evening, okay?
Keep swinging, baby. Keep swinging.
I will.
Bye.